All right, I think we're ready. Let me get my chat set up. There we go. All right, we're gonna make a bowl start to finish. That's what we're gonna make. And see if we can do it in 40 minutes. 40 minutes. So if you can stick with us for 40 minutes, we will end up with a bowl. Cedar bowl. Simple. I'm going to speed up a little bit to cut some of the mass off. So this is cedar, so it's fairly soft and easy to, should I go deeper? I think it should be all right. If it comes off, we'll just start over. It'll be pretty quick. It's pretty soft, so it's easy to machine and lathe. So I'm gonna make a bowl that may end up being a box. So maybe tomorrow we'll make a lid for it. So sometimes I like to get it out from between centers, put a recess on this side, and then decide which one I want to be top or bottom. So I think we're gonna do that because I'm not 100% sure. I got a big knot right there. The ongoing banjo problems. All right. All right, so the reason I'm going to switch to a recess is this is cedar. Cedar does not have a very strong bond between the grain, and you can see how big the grain was. So that grew very fast. So if I put a recess, I have less chance of this just peeling off the tenon. So thought better of the tenon, going with the recess. So this will be the open side, this will be the closed side of the bowl, the bottom, this will be the top. We're gonna kind of just do that. I'm gonna make a square sided bowl. I like those. I forgot, I'm gonna speed up again. Lee is in, Carl's in, Elieldo is in, Ahmad, thanks for stopping in. A pretty good vibration there. I'm not sure why it's vibrating so much. Belt's good. Yeah, I'm gonna slow down. It might be that knot's throwing it off. That's just too much of a vibration. That's it. So when you do the shear scrape with the bowl gouge this way, it gets it so smooth. Cedar has a lot of tear out, so you got to really work to get that edge smooth. Do some 80 grit sanding. Get that outside all done. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, let's work on the inside. We'll do some more sanding later. purposefully left it a little bit thick, thick bottom, thick sides. I'm gonna redo the sides. It got wobbly. So I'm just gonna trim the sides and then do the sanding. Not sure what finish. I think I'll put a wax finish on the outside and leave the inside bare since it is cedar. There we go. That was nice. So I think what happened was, since it had this big knot in it, as I was hollowing it out, it kind of moved a little bit. There's some like tension in it, and we released that. So now it's round. A little bit of tear out here, but that's as good as it's going to get. I'm going to go up to 240 and then put some wax on it. Try to get this tear out. This is abrasive paste. Always put the lid back on your wax paste. All right. All right, now I'm not going to make a lid today, but we're going to make a lid that is the same diameter, sits down in a little bit, overlaps the top, has a little finial on it. But we are, oh, there goes my drill. We are basically done. You could end at this point, but I want to fix the bottom. The top, we polished up the outside, nice and shiny, got that nice knot in there. Inside, I'm going to leave plain, so you can resand it if you need to get that cedar, aromatic cedar back out. But I don't like the bottom, I want to finish that off, so let me find the piece that I use for bowls. I haven't made a bowl in a while. I don't think it's up here, so I'm going to make a new one. I'm just going to put a block in here. I'm going to cut it off straight, a little bit convex maybe. Set that bowl aside so it doesn't fall down. Perfect. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is put my live center back up. Am I going to? Yeah, I have to use my live center. And I'm going to use this. It's like electrical tape, but not tape. Called coadhesive tape. So it sticks to itself, but not to anything else. And I'm going to wrap the end of this so we don't scar up the inside of the bowl. Just like that. Just like that. And it's perfect because it sits on there. You can make it whatever shape you want. I'm going to put the bowl on it. And then push my live center to approximately the center. Can adjust a little bit. That looks about right. It's off a little bit, but that's not going to hurt because we just need it to be flat. Yeah, it's not completely flat, but I think it'll be all right. All right. I'm going to slow down. Whatever flat we end up with is the flat we're going to have. Just so the bowl sits flat. All right, I'm going to cut that foot off. So all I'm doing now is I took out the mortise that was in the bottom. So you won't be able to see how the bowl was held on the lathe. You don't want anyone to know how you held that piece on the lathe. That's from everything I've heard, like from the professionals. Now I'm gonna have a pretty good divot from that live center, but we can maybe sand that out a little bit. So we just sanded up the bottom. I'll take my wax polish up the bottom. Always get as much as you can. We can do some sanding after we take it off the lathe, but the more I can do on the lathe, the better. All right, so that cleaned up the bottom. Now, when I take this back, all I have left is that little hole. And we can fill that in, we can sand it. Probably if I burn my logo in, that'll disappear a little bit. But I'm telling you, this tape is nice. And then when you're done with it, I can leave it on, or I can just take it off and throw it away. It doesn't really stick to anything except itself. So that works out real nice. And I will put a link in the description after I'm done. It's just on Amazon, not very expensive. All right, I'm gonna take this off. Put my Jacob's chuck, put some sandpaper back on. And I'm just gonna touch up that center. And you could even put a little bit of glue in there. It's almost gone already. If I put a little bit of glue, the sawdust would fill it in. Look at that. All right, I'm gonna take my rag again. And there you go. That's a nice little container, start to finish in 40 minutes. 40 minutes, not too bad. I love that edge, especially around where the knot is. That's really cool. Knots are hard for turning because they kind of make everything bounce a little bit, but man, they add something to it. So, all right, tomorrow we'll make the top for that. So tune back in tomorrow. I got to get back to work. This is my lunch break. I hope everyone is having a great day, a great new year, and we will see you tomorrow. Remember that you have purpose, you have value, and you are loved. God bless.